Learning to be aware of our thoughts, or self talk, as it's called, is something I actually want to explore a tiny bit more. So, self talk is your inner voice. It's the voice in your head that says the things that you might not say out loud. You actually don't say most of it out loud. It often happens without us even noticing it, but it affects how we feel about ourselves, whether we're noticing it or not. So, it's important to become aware of it at least sometimes. Thoughts affect our feelings. So, this introduction to being aware of it, that was the activity last week, right? What am I thinking about myself all day, every day? That was just the beginning of practicing being aware of it, though. So, there's two kinds of self talk, there's positive and there's negative. Negative self talk can make you feel so bad about yourself, especially if you say negative things to yourself often. It can sometimes make you start to just spiral, especially if that is all you're focusing on, without balancing the negative with some positive things about you. Keep it balanced, right? As an example, let's say that you play softball, and if you struck out at bat a few times in a row, for those that don't play, meaning you got 3 strikes, so your team got an out that inning, which is not good for your team. You could find yourself thinking thoughts like, I can't do this. I always strike out. And if you keep telling yourself that, you will send yourself spiraling just with these thoughts around this idea. Suddenly, it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? But if you catch yourself having that thought, then you can challenge it. Then you can think logically. So, for example, maybe you'd say, is it realistic that you're never going to hit another pitch again? No, that's probably actually impossible. Is it realistic you're going to strike out forever? No. It's just a matter of being open and turning the negative into a positive outlook. So in this example, probably just being relaxed enough while up there at bat and remembering that it's about the fun and the love of the game and it's not the outcome, that would really help someone get their next hit. So what are some positive thoughts that you might think if this happened to you? If you were in this example playing softball and you kept striking out? I'm going to tell you some examples from past in-person sessions since we're virtual. So this is what some of the girls said. I'll make contact when I like the pitch and it feels right for me. Sort of owning the power. It's not my inning for hitting. It happens to everyone, even the pros. How much does striking out in this game affect my life, really? Very little. It's not the big important things in life like my loved ones, food, water, Harry Styles, Rihanna. I mean, even if you were in the World Series of softball, you've got to keep perspective, right? Now, another one was, I've hit before. I know I can do it again. So what positive thoughts can you think instead of, I can't do that? Maybe I've never tried it, but I'll give it a go. A lot of life is just being willing to try and be okay with failing. Remember, we talked about how this builds resilience, which is a huge, powerful life skill, and it keeps us connected to our feeling of self-worth. It's awesome to try lots of different things that we think we won't be good at or we will fail. These are all opportunities to build our self-worth awareness. Failing or not doing well and deciding to learn what you need to learn from that experience and keep it moving. Move on with your new learnings, and you are all the stronger for having them. That's one of the most powerful life skills that you can practice. I'm not saying to purposely fail, but it happens to everyone at times in life. And when it does, being able to accept it, take your learnings from it, any positives, and keep on growing, that's life gold. So from now on, try and be conscious of catching yourself. If you think anything negative about yourself, catching yourself is powerful. Having that awareness, and you're already ahead of the game, you can start to do that with that awareness. This is part of why we did the elastic band activity. Then, challenging that thought and instead thinking one positive about yourself. You're training yourself to have some really positive thoughts, which will help you for your entire life. Just like an athlete trains for their sport, or performers, they practice for the big show, right? They do a lot of rehearsals. You're training your brain for a long life of success and feeling connected to your worthiness each moment of each day. And that worthiness is ever present. Don't worry if you feel you're missing catching some negative self-talk thoughts, or you can't always think a good one to turn it into a positive. Some things in life at times, they're really bad or they're really hard and serious. And finding that positive thought is beyond challenging and it feels impossible in the moment. And that is totally fair and that's okay. It's okay to not be okay at times. That's part of life. It's not about being 100%. It's about the continued effort, even during challenging times. Doing this is a lifelong skill. It takes practice. And even many adults, they struggle to do this. So being gentle with yourself on this one, because it is one of the most powerful tools you're learning in the whole program, and truly be so proud of yourself if you're able to do it even a little bit. Because as I said, there's a lot of adults that can't even do this. They don't do it very well. Now, continuing on with me asking you to be vulnerable and open throughout the program, remember, it takes the strongest inner strength to be vulnerable. I'm asking you to write out up to 5 negative self-thoughts you've thought before about yourself. Maybe any you noticed during last week's exercise that you caught yourself thinking, or just the ones that you think often about yourself and you're very aware that these are common negative thoughts you often say to yourself. Or just think of 2 or 3 in your mind. If you're not comfortable or able to write them down right now, that's totally fine. If you can't think of more than 1 or 2, I am not asking you to dig deep and search for more negative ones. Only any that are common and that you often think. We are not trying to find new ones right now. If you can't think of any negative thoughts you think about yourself, that is wonderful. And you can just listen to the rest of this part. Do not go searching for some. Now, I want you to write a positive thought you will think when you catch yourself having any of those common negative ones you often think of yourself. I want you to be extra on guard for these common negative thoughts popping up, as they do. Let's be armed. Let's help our bodyguard, our version of Sasha Fierce, who is protecting our self-worth by having positive thoughts just at the ready for when these common negative ones pop up suddenly. So we're like a real bodyguard ready to take these thoughts down. I don't know what this is. I should be doing this. For example, if you know that you often think, I'm not pretty, or I hate the way I look, or I feel ugly, then I want you to think of positive physical traits that we've already focused on for you or new ones. Write that down. Have that ready in your mind next time you look in the mirror or you catch yourself thinking something negative about how you look. So you look in the mirror, your common usual thought pops in, I'm not pretty at all. You catch yourself doing it. Oh, I just had that thought. You keep looking in the mirror and you think, but I love my smile. Or I do have sparkling eyes. Or I have beautiful thick hair. Or I have naturally incredible eyebrows. Or I have strong legs. Or I have a booty I love. Whatever the thing is, and ideally as many as you can. Okay? What I would really love is if you could write these on your mirror, if you have your own mirror, so that before you even begin to think negative, when you look in your mirror, the positives are literally staring back at you already, and they're there reminding you of them. You can use makeup if you have access, anything you can write on the mirror that will wash away and won't be permanent, because maybe someone's coming over and you don't want them to see it, or eventually you've got to wipe it off the mirror. There's a brand called Stabilo I got on Amazon for my daughter. She's a toddler, to write on windows. That easily comes off. Or just face paints at the dollar store. That could work. Or, a cheap lipstick. If you can't write on your mirror, just keep these thoughts at the ready in your mind. Okay? I am sure the common ones come up at different sort of moments throughout the day. So memorize those positive counterparts to each of them so you know them off by heart. And, whoops, oh my goodness, and are ready no matter where you are when you think them. I'm getting really passionate about this one. There is a tool used by therapists called CBT, Cognitive Behavior Therapy. Its definition is people learning how to identify and change destructive or disturbing thought patterns that have a negative influence on their behavior and emotions. So basically, it focuses a lot on helping you be aware of your thoughts and how to handle a variety of things you think that are hurtful to your quality of life, meaning enjoying your days because of your thoughts. So if that sounds helpful to you based on the thoughts you are aware that you're having, and if they're really negatively impacting you in life, ask your primary care provider, meaning a parent or a relative or a social worker or a trusted adult at your school, about access to speak with a CBT therapist to kind of get you more help on your self-talk. These days, actually, a lot of therapy is done virtually, so it's more accessible than it ever was before. I also want you to be aware of your mental load each day. Negative thoughts, they carry a mental load with them, and it's heavy. To think of all the things you don't like about yourself every day, that's exhausting for your mind. It drains your body physically, it drains your energy. It's interesting once you remove those mental loads, the things you stress about, you worry about, the negatives about yourself with positives. Once you start to focus on what you're grateful for, once you start to focus on what you like about yourself, it feels good. It feels lighter. You have more energy. It translates to so many things. It's not just, oh, I didn't think that I'm so ugly today. I forced myself to say, I like that I have full lips. And I know that at first, before you see the benefits, you might think, what's this really going to do, Rebecca? But just releasing that negative mental load and starting to look for the positive and look for what you're grateful for throughout the day, it feels so different as you move through your days. It really does. And that's what I want for you, to connect easier to your ever-present self-worth. It's there. It's always there. But we're looking to make that connection really strong. Basically, it's easier to connect to when we're focused on what we are grateful for and we like and we love about us. It's just about having that easy connection. But when we're not, and we keep focusing on the things that we don't like about us and things we don't have, connecting to that ever-present self-worth can feel like it's really far away. Sort of like you're trekking through a desert to get to it. It's there, it's just harder to reach and connect. And that makes everything all day long, every day, that much harder. Partly because you're exhausted from thinking all the negative and pressure and stressful stuff. A way that's helped me personally to lighten that load is to journal at the end of the day. If I know I've been stressing or worrying a lot, I told you about this in the nervous system regulation tools. So it feels really good to type it all in a draft and then delete it. Just get it all out. So if that speaks to you, try it. For whatever reason, getting it all out of my brain and madly typing, I just feel better, like I've released it. So give it a try if that speaks to you.